Hey, welcome to Mad Dog's After Show. You are on the launch pad with the Mad Dog, Cole, the Golden Chupacabra Feral, and special celebrity guest star Scottie Deubler.
Turn fast, turn left.
I decided to fly through the air and live in the sunlight and enjoy life as much as I could, and that's just what I'm doing.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure? Stay calm.
Man, here we go again, dude. Starting off with those great words from Mr. Evil Knievel. May he rest in peace, the ultimate stuntman of stuntmen, flying through the air, living in the sunlight, and enjoying life. Amen.
Amen to that. Man, as we get torrential downpour here in Southern California, I feel like a broken record, but I'm hearing the sirens nonstop and seeing the lights from our local fire department here. So certainly don't want to go any farther in this podcast without thanking, of course, our first responders and, of course, our brave men and women of our armed forces and all the families that surround them. Could not and would not do this podcast without them.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, special shout out to, all of our veterans and of course the families of all those that really gave all, the MIA and KIA. Thank you so much. And extra shout out to my boy 11B Grunt over there. First responder doing the deed day to day out there in your area. Andre, love you, bro. With that, man, while we're loving things, how about loving Kicker Performance Audio?
Love to love it.
Kicker.com. Bomber Eyewear. There is over 40 styles of frames to love, and you will love them. BomberEyewear.com. Of course, my man Cole, my co-host, the brains behind this operation, obviously the good looks behind this operation, keeping us rolling week after week after week. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Shutter and Whirl for all your video, audio production needs, and Hey Geeks Marketing for all your social media and website needs. Like I said, special celebrity guest star, getting to be more and more celebrity all the time, Scottie Hollywood Deubler.
Wow.
Right now.
Let's bring them on.
All right. As promised, Hollywood Deubler right here on Mad Dog's After Show. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Long time no see. Where you been?
Right. Scottie and I worked together again at the Reno Kicker Arenacross last weekend, which will be a little bit in the history books by the time this comes out. But man, what a wild weekend of racing out there.
Yeah, I don't know how I got thrown into that one because I haven't done that series for a few years. But man, I think a little bit of everything happened. Our Politelli was leading one of the main events on the first night and pulled off, went up the tunnel, fell over off his bike onto the ground. I thought he was out. He comes back and races the next night, and that's the next night when all the crazy stuff happened. And you throw in the 36-year-old Josh Hill in the mix, and he goes out there and wins. It was a fun weekend.
Yeah, it really was. And that Reno crowd, Friday was kind of a soft crowd, kind of a small crowd. Saturday really did not disappoint. But even the small crowds there are always engaged and always loud.
Well, I think part of it, there's a couple of things I want to talk about there because the mezzanine, you can walk around the whole outside and see the whole track. So the seats look emptier than what it really is. I hate that for TV. I hate that because there's people walking around hanging out with you. There's people walking around, the riders mechanic, they pit up there on the other side from you. And so there's people over there watching what's going on. So it looked a lot more empty than it was. And then Friday was a bonus show. Like they weren't supposed to have a Friday, but it replaced Memphis or yeah, I think Memphis they canceled for snow, so it was a bonus makeup race. So they didn't probably advertise for it enough, or didn't get enough names out there. But yeah, that crowd is always into it. I've done monster trucks out there. I've done enduro cross. I've done arena cross, and now I've done arena cross for different promoter out there, and it's always fun. I love Reno. The city's a little different than the racing, but the race is good. The track is good. Mad Dog, I think what I like about the track, it's kind of similar to the Lazy E Arena here in Guthrie,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. The dirt stays in there, and there's no floor underneath it, so the dirt's always there. You know what you're getting into. It packs in real nice. They dig it up real deep, and I like going to Reno for those reasons. The city, maybe not as much.
Right. No, I'm with you there. And I think anybody that has heard me talk about Reno ever understands where I'm at with Reno. No hate for my friends that live up there, but I'm not crazy about the city, but the racing and the fans are top notch. And like you said, the dirt in that arena, um, without pissing a bunch of people off, is probably the second or third best dirt we race on all year. I mean, Guthrie, obviously, always that Oklahoma red clay or red dirt, man, you can't beat it. You can't. It looks good on TV.
Yeah.
It makes for great tracks. That arena is massive, but Reno is always a superstar event in my books, mostly because of the fans.
Yeah, the fans are definitely there, and they support it. They were, there's a little girl in one of the 65cc class, and they were cheering her on. There was a 50cc class, and they got into every single race, not just the pros. There's a pro lights class, and then of course, the big boy class. But I was just impressed how excited they were that Josh Hill, who doesn't hardly race that much anymore, gets the overall win. He wins one moto the first night, and then wins two motos and the overall the second night. So he got both overalls. And at 36 years of age, some of those kids are half his age out there, and he's beating them. I think part of it was the 30-second lap time, the longer laps, bigger jumps, bigger whoops too. And I think, with all Josh's experience, he just knows how to blitz the whoops a little bit better, maybe. And then there was a jump right in front of the finish line, or right after the finish line, right in front of the podium where I was at. He would come out of that corner and just rail it and jump from a single. The rest of the guys were doubling on and then onto a tabletop. He was jumping from that single up onto the tabletop every single lap. And it didn't matter if somebody's in front of him, beside him, or whatever, but he would gain, I wouldn't say a second, but he would gain time every single lap, just because and that's just one jump that was right there that I could see every lap. It didn't matter if he was in traffic or not. And he's that focused and determined, and he knows that he's going to hit that jump, and he knows it's benefiting him. And I think, again, all that experience definitely paid off.
Yeah, and years of conditioning too. You could see you could definitely tell the difference between the riders who spend a lot of time on conditioning and the guys that don't, because that track really, I thought it was an amazing track. It was racy, it was challenging, it was technical, but there was no rest for the riders.
Yeah, none of the only rest you got was the big finish line jump, and at that point, you're already setting up for the next corner. So that's the only time you get to reach up and grab a tear off. That's the only time you get to take a deep breath. And I like too the section in front of me was a rhythm section. People were hitting it different, and then on the opposite wall over there, that was a really different rhythm section. And I liked how the bikes were up, and then one was up and one was down, and sometimes you would hit a single and go all the way over a tabletop. Other people were jumping the single onto the tabletop on the far side, and I like the track too, is what I'm getting at, because it was it wasn't just follow the leader. There was other options out there.
Yeah,
all the way around the track.
It was an exciting weekend for sure, and it was great to have you on the mic out there and calling all the action, and always getting the fans engaged and getting them wound up. And like you said, in the 65s, that little girl, I mean, she was out there riding her heart out, and she was, back a bit at the end of the field, but man, I think the fans were more loud for her than they were for the kid that won.
Yeah, and then even the little 50cc guy, he was jumping a double right in front of me, and he cased it a few times, but then he got the hang of it there at the end, and again the crowd was cheering him on. And I think that that helps those riders, and I liked that. I had a great weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and how about speaking of the 65s? There's a couple of 65s that were doing the finish line double, the big double. I was like, "What are you guys doing?"
Was that 65s or the 85s?
Was it 85s?
It might have been. I think, yeah, it might have been the 85s.
But
I
they
don't
were
know.
hucking it, little tiny guys
And
hucking
the,
it.
the first one that did it, he landed and it bounced his feet up. He did the flying W and then went off, hit the berm, and the bike hit the wall and stuff like that. But, after they got it figured out and they remembered, oh, yeah, there's a turn right after, it definitely separated the field.
Yeah.
The top 2 or 3 maybe could do that big double. It was probably 75 feet. What was weird too is the landing was actually up higher, taller than the takeoff.
Yeah.
That's so deceiving. Like I wouldn't jump it, I'm rolling that thing.
That's like a freestyle setup.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it was great action. And I want to take a second because you bounced on the pro lights class.
Oh, yeah.
And my buddy and icon in motocross, Tyler Verba is bike chief for a newer rider, Jeremy Fapani. Fapani. Really, really nice kid. And he was one of the only guys racing the pro class and the pro lights class. And he was racing a 250 in both classes. And man, he put on a clinic in the 250 class this weekend. It was good to see. I've watched him progress over the season. I know you haven't been able to do that, but man, kid grew a little confidence, last weekend in Prescott Valley, and all of a sudden he's a second faster in qualifying in the lights class and just crushing them. And that was really cool. And congratulations to him and Verba. They're good people, and it was awesome to see him do well.
Yeah, he was ripping it for sure. Like we watched practice and qualifying the first day, and I'm like, who is this guy? He had number 2 on his number plate, and really thin, really into shape guy, and he just looked so smooth out there every time he got on the racetrack. And I called it. I said he's winning tonight. And Dane Morales put up a good fight, but he ended up going down in the main event and got 4th the first night. But then the second night, Morales rebounded and looked good in the lights class. But Pawnee, he put it on both nights. But then what was impressive, that long starting line off the starting gate was about the length of the arena. And that was the only downfall I think that Fapani had in the big boy class, in the pro class, because he's on that 250. But he still got up there and it was in front of Josh Hill for a little while. Hill even complimented him in the post-race interview that I did. Hill's like, Fapani was ripping, and Fapani hung in there. And I think he got a 4th and a 5th, or a 5th and a 4th, I think, in the big boy class, and got 4th overall. And to be on a 250 and to do that against all those big names was very impressive. So we'll have to remember that name, because he's going to ride more Supercross, and there's one more weekend of Arenacross, and hopefully he wraps up the season with them before he goes and does the Supercross. But he was very impressive.
He's in the pro class. He's a rookie too, so it's not like he's raced any of these guys before, other than the last 6 or 7 rounds. So yeah, it was cool to see. He's got kind of a weird style in the air. I think you and I came up with his style being awkwardly smooth.
Yeah, whatever works for him, I guess. But
yeah,
what we were talking about, like on the finish line jump, the left foot comes off, and then it's already towards that front wheel because he's landing for that left-hand turn. But then when he came on our straightaway side, his right foot was way off to the back, and you and I both thought about it. Well, what happens if you need to jam the brake? Your back foot, backed by your rear axle. But it was working for him, and it's a comfortability thing because I think when he
Yeah.
would do it, he was on a nice smooth rhythm. But if he wasn't smooth, it would stay put. Like I remember, whenever I was racing motocross, I was always told, squeeze that bike. That's why
Yeah.
you wear out your radiator shrouds, and that's why you wear out the paint on your frame because you're squeezing that bike so much. But maybe it's just a comfortable thing for him in the air. So yeah, an awkwardly smooth was what we
Yeah.
came up with, and what
Yeah.
I mean, it's working for him. So if it's
Yeah.
working, keep ripping it. I just like you, I'd be worried about tapping that back brake just in case I needed to. But I think he only pulled the foot off if he was comfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that was cool to see. And man, what a great weekend. I just had a great time. It was great hanging out with you and being able to spend a little extra time than normal. Like at American Flat Track, we don't get to spend an awful lot of time together.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we cross paths and that's about it
yeah.
at flat track, unless we see each other after the races or at the hotel or an airport or something. But yeah, usually flat track, I'm tied up and I'm in a semi or I'm doing the pit walk or we'll pass each other. But yeah, this Arenacross last weekend, we had a good time.
Yeah, that was super fun despite being in Reno, the city of Reno, not the arena. Um, but speaking of American Flat Track, man, we're getting ready to kick off the season. And I've been listening to folks. Be sure and check this out at Off the Groove TV on Instagram. Off the Groove podcast with Scottie Deubler on SkyCloud,
Spotify,
iTunes,
SoundCloud. Yeah,
SoundCloud,
Spotify, iTunes, wherever you find your podcast, you can find it.
iTunes.
Just Google, Off the Groove. I try to put one out every Friday. I've had one came out in the middle of the week, right before the Winter Throwdown, just because we had some breaking news for the First Impressions team. But I try to stay on top of what's going on. There's a lot of ride changes going on. Cody Kopp switching, moving up to the Premier class, riding a Harley Davidson is one of the biggest ones that comes to mind. But yeah, the season is just right around the corner.
Yeah, and I heard from a reliable source that there may be some more Cody Kopp news coming, so we'll be watching out for that. But man, you've had all the dirt, and let's. I want to get into like a little bit of the series and season 26 season preview. Your thoughts into, let's say, like even the first half of the season. I mean, we kick off with the doubleheader in Daytona. There's so much. Like they've added some new classes. They've added an actual road to AFT, which I think the three of us talked about that last year about the need for a solid feeder program. And so CTR Promotions has joined forces, I guess, with American Flat Track to put on the Road to AFT amateur program. I think 7 this year.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of cool stuff there. Man, hit me with some of the highlights for you. Like,
Well, yeah, there's a lot to unpack because the season it is going to be different. It is still 16 rounds, which we've been at 16 rounds the last few years, except for COVID. We had to struggle just to even get some double headers, and I think we got 10 or 12 rounds in. But 16 rounds seems to be the magic number right now. I wish there was about 20, just for the riders to make a little bit more money, and obviously so I can make some more money too. But I do like the CTR Road to AFT. I think at some tracks it will hurt the racetracks for us, but at a lot of tracks it's going to make the track better for AFT. They'll figure out exactly how much water needs to be put down and stuff like that. So most of the time it's going to help the racetrack. I really do like though that the amateurs will get to race like in the new pro sport class. The top 12 will transfer to get to race in the AFT the next night. They're going to probably have one heat race, probably have one main event, maybe a little bit of practice too. But back in the day, until just recently, you could never race on an AFT track unless you went pro. When I was racing, I never raced on any of those racetracks until I went pro. And then a little bit, like like the Oklahoma City Half Mile would have a race the day after here and there. Every once in a while, Sacramento Mile did that every once in a while. But, to race on the quality of a racetrack when the track is prepped like an AFT track, it's a little bit different than running the day after during the day. So at the races, the first 7 rounds, the day before is an amateur race. I think there's 18 classes. So they're going to be very long days. But keep an eye on those pro sports because they're racing for their chance to rank it into an AFT race in their own class, in the pro sport class. But then they get to stick around and go be in the pits with the pros. They get to be part of the show.
Yeah.
Some people forget that AFT is a show. It's a race, but it's also a show, and it's a TV show also. We're on TV, so that there's a lot going on. Looking at the schedule, Mad Dog, we start off with 5 short tracks in a row. Daytona, 2 rounds of Daytona, Sonoy, Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go to 2 rounds in California. Ventura's back on. Then we go up the road to Chico. So that's 5 short tracks in a row. We got a new one. We're going out to Budds Creek for the motocross people.
Oh, yeah. I'm excited for that one.
And that track has been there for a while. And we all know the motocross track's been there. Well, it's listed on the schedule as a half mile. I haven't done the Google Earth to look at it yet, but it's been there for a while. So it's not like they're just building a track for us to go try out. It's been there for a while. So I was glad to find that out. After Budds Creek, we're going back to Pennsylvania. We're going to Williams Grove, sprint car territory, but Williams Grove is a really fast half mile. And then another new one that I want to talk about is Nashville. It's listed as a short track. It's probably an hour to an hour and a half outside of Nashville, depending on how far where do you start the countdown from Nashville. But hopefully we'll get some Nashville people, to come on down and check us out. I think going to big cities has been key for a while. I think we've tried it. That's why Sonoy is back on the schedule. It's basically a suburb of Atlanta. So that's just the first half of the season. And, it starts in March and we end this year in Springfield. So I'm excited about the first half. I'm interested to see what the street tracker class is going to bring. It's 2-cylinder, 3-cylinder, 4-cylinder. Of course, there's rules. But I think the idea with that is to take street legal bikes, make them race bikes. You have to run the stock frame. You have to run dirt track tires. You have to put rubber foot pegs on and stuff like that. But it's supposed to be a lower cost class, and it's supposed to make these bikes relatable to the people in the crowd that, hey, I got that bike that guy's riding out there in the parking lot. I mean, it's the same strategy as NASCAR used, win on Saturday, sell on Monday. It's the same philosophy. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's going to help sell motorcycles. I don't know if it's going to help bring people to the stands, but it's another class, another opportunity for other people that maybe aren't pro riders to race.
Yeah. And I think it'll improve the show. We've been filling it in really. Like last year, they did a lot of different classes, as I would call it, filler. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't want to downgrade those because those guys were still racing. They're still out there giving it, and we had some really cool ones. Like they had that, was that it? I think Lima one where they had the vintage.
Yep,
vintage twin.
Yep, that was cool. And then we brought them back to Springfield Mile as well. And some tracks it's good for for that. And that was a really cool feature. Also, we have the Adventure Tracker class, and those bikes look basically stock. You put flat track tires on them, that's about it. Take your turn signals off. I think Dan Brownlee rode his bike at the Sturgis Short Track. After he left there, he put the license plate back on, took the tape off the headlight, and rode it to downtown. So that's another class. Those bikes are not cheap for one, but for two, a lot of people ride those bikes, and you can ride them on the road. You can ride them on the dirt, so you might as well flat track them too. But I don't know that the Sturgis TTs are not. I'm sorry, the Peoria TT is a good place for those bikes because that's a lot of speed. And those bikes are heavy, but they did okay. It, like you said, it's a filler class, but maybe it'll get more brands involved. Like Ducati, Aprilia. Triumph, had a big presence in the Harley Davidson Pan Americas were running in that class. So I'm not opposed to it. I'm not 100% for it, but if it brings more people to our sport, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I like the class based on the stockness, if you will, of those bikes. I'm disappointed that the new rules say they're not allowed to have horns.
Oh yeah,
because
that was
that
they
bums.
were.
We had Gene Crouch, CEO of American Flat Track, on here a few episodes ago, and even he was laughing about it. He's like, I don't know why they took the horns off. It was so much fun, you
Right,
know.
right. Well, that got me thinking. We should get a Kicker Performance Audio sponsored motorcycle, and if you can't use a horn, maybe when you get into the corner and you're trying to get somebody out of the way, just turn the volume up real quick and shock them with some music.
I love it. That'd be awesome.
Just have it blaring, but have it on mute. And when you catch up to somebody, unmute it real quick.
That would be cool.
It's not a horn.
Right?
It's not a
That's
horn,
true.
Mad Dog.
That's true. The and a few extra pounds.
Man, I got emergency alert going on.
Oh,
how do you turn that off?
I don't know that you can.
You can't. There, finally showed. A missing juvenile from Oklahoma City. You just never know.
Wow, you never
Sorry
know.
about that.
Hey, at least it's not a tornado alert.
Yeah. You know what? No joke. It's a little early for that. Those usually get here around May, so
yeah,
we're still a little early.
But talking about the adventure trackers, I think they're expanding. What they start out 4 races, went to 6, and now they're going to 8 or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, quite a few more. So as long as people are safe on them, that was my biggest concern coming in, is if they're slipping and sliding around, and if those bikes land on you, those bikes are heavy. But it seems like the riders had them under control. Again, the only one I was really concerned about was the Peoria TT, because that front straightaway, it's longer than a half-mile racetrack straightaway. I mean, it's a really long track, so they might be shifting, once or twice even on some of those bikes, and that's a lot of speed. And then you got to try to get those big 500-pound bikes woed down for that first corner. So, there's a lot more than just going fast and turning left in our sport. So,
for sure,
as long as they're safe, I'm okay with it, and as long as it doesn't make our days drag out way too long, I'm okay with that too. Like if we could qualify them earlier in the day, and maybe just have the main event when the crowd was there, I think that might be a good plan too. But I haven't seen the breakdown of the daily schedule yet of how it's going to all work out. So we'll have to see how that goes before I get too anti this or too for this or whatever. So we'll let it all play out. But until that happens, I think the more the merrier. Let's get more people in, because if you bring somebody in that's riding the adventure tracker class, like, oh, I'm having a blast, maybe I should go get a 450, or maybe I should, you know what I'm saying? Use it as a stepping stone. I mean, why not?
Yeah, absolutely. And, like you said, the guys that maybe they'll jump in from adventure tracker to the street tracker class. Oh, I've got an old, GPZ 750 or whatever at home.
Right.
Maybe I'll kit that out and hit the track with it. So, there's like you were saying, some new and exciting venues coming out this year that I'm looking forward to. Man, and I want to touch just on the adventure trackers that there's a lot of people that kind of poo-pooed it to begin with, and last year maybe they got lukewarm. But we had, I believe, 4 manufacturers involved, and Harley Davidson won the championship for a brand. And you're like, oh well, whatever. But I saw a thing where Harley was saying, hey, we won an American Flat Track Championship with this bike. So it may not be the most desirable class for everybody, but it's bringing manufacturers and people to the sport. So, I want to see him throw it down on the Sturgis TT again. It blew me away in Sturgis last year on the short track that the way they were getting those things to hook up, and they're coming out of the corner and wheeling. Crossed up, wheeling. And I'm like, whoa, it was pretty exciting. But anyways, moving on to this year, that I did just hear And I know that is either being released right now or will be released, that the what's the 450 class, the CTR?
It's pro sport.
Pro Sport. The Pro Sport class will be 14 to 21-year-olds will be the age limit.
And amateur riders, not pro riders.
Amateurs,
You
correct.
can't drop down and ride that class the night before. So the AFT riders are not allowed to race the day before. You're not supposed to race. I think it's a month or two ahead of time at an AFT race. So the AFT riders can't drop down and run the pro sport class the night before. So it is definitely the road to AFT. It's a stepping stone. Get your feet wet again to, if you finish in the top 12 spots, you get to qualify and race an AFT race. The first 7 AFT rounds, which is 2 Daytona short tracks, Atlanta, which is Sonoy, Ventura, Chico, and I think Budge Creek might be in there too. But there's 7 of them that you get to try to race the night before, and then try to race your way into an AFT race.
Yeah, I think that's exciting. I think it's something our sport needs for sure. So I'm stoked about that. And we hit on what the first 7 races are short tracks per se.
Right.
But I know, I know on your podcast, and you and I have talked about this, because it's quote unquote a short track doesn't necessarily mean it's a short track, right? Like obviously Sturgis is a short track.
Sure.
In my opinion, Sonoy or Atlanta, but Sonoy is not, to me, I wouldn't call it a short track just because of the amount of track and the way the track's built, the banking, all that. It would almost seem to me like it would ride more like, close to a half mile.
Right. It's technically, I think, a 3/8 mile, which I think maybe the rule book, we should change the definition maybe, because to me, if you advertise it as a short track, some people don't like short tracks, because it seems short, it seems small. So maybe we should call that, like, maybe change the ruling to add a 3/8 mile into the half mile category, because Chico, Sonoy, some of the other ones are big, fast short track, like Lucas Oil, for example. That wasn't a short track. That's a car track where the sprint cars, World of Outlaws go there, the high limit sprint cars go there, and to me, you can't race a sprint car at the Sturgis short track. It's too small. So there's got to be a way to define it a little differently. I think it's to me, a short track's like an indoor, or like Daytona is a true short track. I think a quarter mile or smaller should be a short track. If you go bigger than a quarter mile to a half mile, that should be in the half mile category, I think. And I mean, then you can call it a smaller half mile, whatever you want to do. But I just don't think it's fair. I think it kind of takes away from the prestigiousness of winning the Sonoy short track, because it is a fast red clay track. And Chico, Chico at nighttime is very fast too. It's really rich black dirt, but it's fat. It's so fast at nighttime. Like the track really comes around at nighttime, and it's kind of unfair that it's called a short track.
Yeah, and I felt that way about Sonoy. I'm like, man, this thing, especially seeing them run the far outside groove, which I was impressed in Sonoy, and we talked about that last year, how they broke the track in and widened the groove with the race car and all that. But those guys running the outside groove, I mean, that was probably 4 lanes up and a hot rod,
Yeah. Hats off to the guys that have the courage. I could say another word, but the guys that have the courage to go up there just above the groove or just off the groove, to get up there, and find some more moisture, and that's what they're looking for. If it's up against the wall, maybe it's in the shade longer, maybe there's more water. Typically, the moisture goes down the racetrack, so you could see the groove was working its way down. Then all of a sudden, like back in the day, Morgan Mishler would always be the first one to go up there above the groove and find it. Now it seems like there's more guys searching for it. And I think part of it was the Dunlop tires that we were running maybe didn't like the rubber as much as they like the dirt. So it was
Oh,
interesting to see how that all worked out. I know we got some new tires coming in this year.
I
They are
saw
still
that. Yeah.
Dunlops, but they're coming from Japan, and so I'll be interested to see how the Dunlop tire likes its own rubber. It's kind of weird, but I did like last year, like you're mentioning, that they would take that groove all the way up to the air fence, and it takes somebody with some courage to go up there and try it. And then, our sport's a lot of monkey see, monkey do. That guy's going faster than me. I better go try it out. And I know a lot of
Yeah.
sports are like that too, but it takes that one person. What comes to mind is looking at Chico last year, Ian Wolf, like everybody was on the bottom. Ian Wolf in the last chance qualifier last year in the singles class went to the top of the track, and there was moisture up there, and he passed everybody. The very next race, all the Twins riders went up right up. You've got to be paying attention in our
Yeah.
sport because things change and things change in a hurry, and that's one of the things I like about our sport. It's not, it sounds simple. Go fast and turn left. You're going in a circle. How hard could it be? Well, there's so much more to it than that. So if you haven't seen a flat track race, if you're listening in, if you're listening to Mad Dog, who talks about all kinds of other motorcycle sports, but come check out a flat track race. There's nothing like it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I have a technical question for you on that, talking
All right.
about
All
the
right.
monkey see, monkey do, and the track and finding the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
When I built cars and crew chief at race team, we ran on paved ovals, but
Right.
we ran everything from, short, what we called short quarter miles, to, half miles. But when we were, for me, I would watch the fast guys and hope that we were in the fast guys, and we often were. But I would segment the track out on stopwatches, and a lot of times on a quarter mile track, I'd have 4 stopwatches going and segment it out
Wow.
just to see, oh man, this guy is a tenth faster through turn 3, but from entry to middle of 3-4, this guy's a tenth faster. How's he getting there? Are the flat track bike guys also doing the same type of thing? Or, like, I would imagine a lot of the greats, bike chiefs anyways, automatically have it in their head, but
Yeah, I don't know if they got multiple stopwatches going. I know that they're all looking at live timing and scoring, and they can go back and watch, on Flow Racing. You can try to see where that guy's picking up more speed, and like, sometimes you can just tell when they're shutting off is different. Like when you let off to go in the corner, or if you're letting all the way off, or so are you just rolling it off, or are you rolling it back on, or are you just grabbing a handful to get back on it? So you we used to really rely on the stopwatch, and as a rider, for me when I was racing, if I went out there and won the heat race, I didn't want to change anything from the main event, but you have to change. You have to make yourself change because that track is going to change. It's either going to get faster or it's going to slow down. It very, very, very seldom stays the same from the heat race time because it could be at like 7 o'clock. By the time
yeah.
you roll into your main event, it could be like 9 o'clock or 9:30. So you have to maintain, keep up with the racetrack and listen and watch, watch your stopwatch or watch the live timing and scoring and just see what everybody else is doing. When you get to that level at American Flat Track, people around you that maybe just came off the racetrack, they're not going to tell you what the track just did.
No.
They're not going to tell you what changes they made unless they're on your team. And sometimes I think that's when having a teammate, even if it's in a different class, I think if you have a teammate, sometimes it will help you because they more than likely they're not going to be on the track at the same time as you, so you can talk things over. Well, the track did this in my heat race. Well, it did this in my heat race. So it's probably going to do this in the semifinal or, the last chance qualifier or the main event, whatever. But, since there's all those races in between there, you have to keep up with the track changes. And I don't know if they use a stopwatch for that, Mad Dog. That's a great question. I would always, some people just go chill out somewhere and take it easy. I would be up against the fence watching and
Yeah.
listening to the motorcycle, listening to the announcer, even, what's that track doing, and watching the live timing and scoring. We all have that little phone in our pocket, which is a miniature computer, so you can watch the timing right there as you're watching on the track. You can watch right here. oh, that was the fastest lap of the race. Oh yeah, it's because he did this, this, and this over here. That's why it's the fastest lap.
Yeah. I watch, it's funny you talk about live scoring and timing, and folks, that's on the AFT app, which you
Mhm.
can find in the Play Store. Um, but I watched live scoring and timing in the booth. Even if I can see the race, maybe not as much, but if I'm outside of the track area where I can't see it from the booth, I watch live scoring and timing. Uh, one, because Kicker has me there to interact with fans and talk to people, so I need to be able to pay attention. That's my priority.
Right.
So if I'm live streaming, it's too easy to get distracted. So I watch live scoring and timing,
Mhm.
and I maybe, being an old crew chief or whatever, I have the advantage to where I can say, "Oh, look, he's all of a sudden, he's in fifth, but he's running 300s faster a lap. He may be on the podium before the end of the night, you know?"
Yep. Yep. So when it's weird because this last year in 2025, I was the play-by-play guy. So the year or two years before that, the next 2 years before that, I was the color commentator. So in our booth in the semi, I have one screen, and the timing and scoring screen as a color commentator was in front of me. So Ralph had the play-by-play screen in front of him.
Yeah.
So I'm watching the timing and scoring just as much as I'm watching the race because I want to see who's coming and start talking about that. And I can say, hey, Ralph, rider X just went, 2/10 faster than our leader. Maybe he's coming. And then also, then maybe the camera will pan back and find that race going on too. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to direct the show by any means. That's not my role. I'm just trying to, allude to somebody else is coming or whatever. Or I might even say the leader's time just went, 3/10 slower than second place. Just so the stopwatch is our friend. It
Yeah.
really is, and not only for the mechanic, not only for the rider, but also as the broadcaster, as the play-by-play guy, and as the color commentator, both.
Yeah, I back when I was crew chiefing, I lived a lot by the stopwatch, especially practice, qualifying, whether it was, the stock car stuff or when the kart stuff. I was very in tune to the stopwatch because, like you said, it can tell you the story that maybe you can't see or don't realize. So, um, yeah, no, that's super cool, super insightful. Um, Man, and what you were saying about the track changing and trying to prepare or plan ahead, maybe I was thinking when you were talking about that, I was thinking about Daytona 1 last year.
Mm, man.
Um, when I mean, I realized for the riders that had to suck because for those of you who don't remember, the track went from all right to probably from a rider's perspective, total garbage
Yep.
by night, by the mains. And it was rough. It was tough. There's a big hole down in 3 and 4, almost a jump. Uh, and everybody struggled with it, except it seemed like Henry Wiles on the Kawasaki. It seemed like he just kept the throttle twisted and held on and was like, whatever happens, happens. And I don't know him.
Right.
Um, but I'll tell you, he made a lifetime fan last year at Daytona 1, just steer wrestling that big old cowie off the micro jump,
Yeah.
in traffic. But to what you were saying, the track was pretty decent early on in the day,
Mhm.
and it just fell apart.
Well, a lot of that too is they just brought in dirt. It was supposed to be in there like 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. I think last year it got there 5 days ahead of time, so it didn't have enough time to let Mother Nature put the dirt where it wanted to go. If you want to listen, if you want to get
Yeah,
crazy about it, it has to settle. It doesn't matter
yeah,
if you throw it in there a day before. For flat track machines, it's different than like an arena cross. In arena cross, everybody's going the same direction. Flat track, you're trying to go the same direction, but you're really throwing a bike sideways, and it makes the dirt push away, and then that's when the braking bumps come in. That's when those big holes come in too. So I've been told that at Daytona they put dirt in there about a month ago, or maybe 2 months ago. I saw it on TV from the Daytona 500. They had an aerial shot, and you could see it's really, really white again. It's the moon dirt, is what they call it. I don't. It's got some mixture in it that's probably sandy. They want the old school Daytona look to it, so it's got white stuff back. Last year was a lot of darker dirt that maybe it got brought up from down below, like it kind of got mixed back in. So I think this year it'll be better. I think it's gonna be whiter. It's fresher dirt. So maybe the first day, which is a CTR race now, maybe that first day they'll figure it all out. So I'm looking forward to really good tracks both days. I just talked to one of our tech officials is down there right now. He went out there and he said there is a blue groove from the top to the bottom right now because they just recently raced go-karts on there. And what would be fun, Mad Dog, and I know it probably would never happen, is leave that rubber down and let's have a blue groove track one day, and then let's turn it up and dig it up and water it down and pack it back in and have a wet track for day number 2. It probably would never happen, but it would be fun.
No, that would be rad. And talking about that, the carts on dirt lay a lot of rubber down. I don't know what they're running now, but
yeah, I don't
back
know what
when
tires
we
they're
ran,
running. Yeah,
the rubber we ran, like the Bridgestone stickies, dude. You run. We ran, I think, one short track indoors just for fun and to test a couple of parts that I had come up with. And in one night, we completely wore bald a set of the Bridgie stickies. So, yeah,
on dirt. Yeah,
on dirt,
that's nuts. Yeah.
So that would be exciting. Hit me up a little bit. What do you know about the moon dirt? Everybody talks about the moon dirt, but nobody says anything about it.
Chris Carr coined it moon dirt because it's different than anything you've ever been on. I don't know. It's just a weird combination of, I don't know if they got white dirt. I don't know where that comes from, but the white is, of course, from the Daytona beach, the Daytona sands. Like it's not as white as Destin, Florida, if you've ever been there to go like a tourist, but it's really white. So it's moon dirt because it just you can't make a mud ball out of it when it's wet. I don't know. I don't know anything about it, Mad Dog. It's
the mystery of Daytona.
You got to get a jar of it. I mean, it's always been different. Like when I raced, we raced out at the stadium off of LPGA Boulevard, and we raced around the football field, and it was really good racing. But it was always white dirt too, and it was very similar. I don't know where they get it from. I don't know if they hide it somewhere. I don't know if NASA brings it up from just down the road. I don't know where it comes from, but we just call it moon dirt.
Yeah, well, I guess probably because of the white color of it, but last year, was it last year or year before? Anyways, it was might have been year before. My first time out at the Daytona short track, it was a year before. And the moon dirt, I kept hearing about moon dirt. And you know what? I think you're onto something. If I can get away with it, I may just have to bring a little bit home with me.
Do it so you can put it on the podcast and show everybody and feel it, because it doesn't feel like any dirt anywhere else in the country. I can't put a I don't know. I don't even have a track to compare it to.
And that's so much also, the dirt from each track. It's like we were talking earlier about, Reno and Guthrie and here and there in the Arenacross series. That is so similar because wherever you go, the dirt is different. It's not like you're running. I mean, when we ran on pavement, you could say pavement's pavement. That's not the case. I can tell you that for sure.
Right.
But dirt is even less predictable.
Yeah, and it also depends on what normally runs on that particular racetrack. Like maybe those go-kart tire put some tread in there that, who knows? I'm not saying that's what happened at Daytona, but maybe like when we go to Ventura, it's a decomposed granite material. It's kind of a cushion. When that cushion brushes off, it's got a hard surface underneath it. But what normally runs there? What's what's being put down before we get there. That's like, some of the horse tracks, they don't hardly rubber up because they keep it so dug up and there's a little bit of sand in
Yeah.
there. So they don't rubber up generally, except for, like Sacramento would always have a nice groove because they would, push off all the loose stuff. But, it depends on what normally runs there. Do you run sprint cars there, and are they running Hoosier tires, and how much rubber is being put down there? Or do they keep it wet and they keep it like the chili bowl? It hardly rubbers up until like the end of the night. Until then, it's nice and wet and loamy and deep. And, every track is different. Everywhere we go is different. You have to keep up with the changes. And, if you have a good mechanic, or if you're a very smart rider, you keep notes of every single thing you're doing, because you never know, that mechanic might not be your mechanic next year when you go back, unless it may be your dad or something like that. And hopefully your dad's still there with you. But, sometimes your dad doesn't even travel with you when you get to that level. So you have to keep mental notes. I always had a notebook, and like when we would leave on the way home, I'd already have the gearing wrote down. Well, I'd talk things over with my dad. Well, what jetting did we run? That's back before fuel injection. What, how far was the wheelbase? Did you have the rear, did you have the swing arm stretched out really long, or did you have it up tight so we can turn better? Like what base setup should we start with when we get back there next year?
Yeah, I still in my storage up in Oregon, I still have a binder that's probably that thick of notes from the stock car team, that not that I'll ever use them again, but it's what spring, what shock, what tire, what tire diameter, how much left side weight, how much left side weight did I add legally, and how much extra left side weight did I add that they didn't know about, or whatever.
Exactly. And then there's more to it too. Like if you go run a non-AFT race and you don't have to run a Dunlop tire, if you want to run a softer compound Dunlop tire, is it going to benefit you when you go to an AFT race, or are you going there to win that race? And if you can run the softest tire you can, maybe you're going to get more traction. But if everybody's running the same tire, do you want to keep mental notes of how that performed at a non-national track as to compare to whatever? So that just adds a whole nother element, like on my notes, like you're just talking about too. I always put, who put on the race? Is an AFT race? Is an RPM race? Is it a CTR race? Wherever I might be going, or is it just the Lodi Cycle Bowl? It's just just their own track. You have to put that on the notes. You also have to put what month it is, what the temperature is. All these, there's so many variables. I know we're getting really, really deep into it, but that's how you go fast. You have to, all this applies to go fast. And I know we're supposed to be talking about the season and stuff like that, but I'm so excited to get going. And we only talked about the first half of the season, Mad Dog. We're going back to Lima twice again this year, and I like that.
Lima, I was just going to say, you talked about the cushion earlier. I'd never been to Lima. One other thing for the notebook, and especially I would think in flat track and dirt track, is who prepped the track.
If you can figure that out. Sometimes we don't ever know who it is, because that person changes from time to time. Like the normal AFT guy may not be there that week,
right?
Or maybe the track does it themselves, or maybe they watered it right before we went out. I mean, there's so
much,
so many variables. But
jumping forward to Lima, I'd never been there last year, and we got rain. And I'm like, oh, this track is going to be horrible.
Nope,
and you guys were all telling me, oh, no, it's going to soak it up, and it's magic dirt, and it's going to cushion up, and you're going to see race lines everywhere. That was some, you guys were right. Obviously, it was some incredible racing.
My hairs are standing up right now, dude. Man.
But I hadn't seen a track like the water just disappeared.
Well, part of it, it's got a gradual banking to it, so that's part of it. But the other part is it's deep. I mean, it's pea gravel, which it sounds, for people that don't race flat track or don't know flat track, pea gravel sounds terrible. It's fun. Some people like it more than others. I wasn't very good at pea gravel because I grew up in Oklahoma and I'm used to hard packed clay tracks. But you have to learn how to like it. You have to adapt to it, and you really steer with the rear wheel. So if you're good at that, It's a feeling track. It's a grab a handful of throttle track. But the best part is, to me, if I'm going to tell a fan to go to a race, the very first one, and if they live in the Midwest, I'm telling them to go to Lima, just because you cannot follow anybody. Maybe on the straightaway a little bit, but you might get off to the side of them a little bit, so you're not directly behind them. But in the corners, you cannot follow somebody because the roost off that tire in front of you, it's like throwing out a parachute because it hits you, it hits your chest, it hits your hands, it hits your number plate, and it slows you down.
Wow.
It's incredible. You have to get out of their roost. If they're going in high, you go in lower than them. They're going to cross in front of you, and then you try to get through their roost as quickly as you can, and you're steering with the rear wheel.
Wow.
You can ride it all the way around sideways. You can go in, square off the corner, and diamond it like Brad Baker was one of the best that I've seen in person. Just dive through that corner, go all the way up to the air fence, and then square it off and shoot it down the back straightaway or the front straightaway, either way. But you can't follow anybody because it just slows you down, and it hurts too, Mad Dog.
Yes.
A lot of times you wear hand guards. Now that the newer, the Kevlar gloves with the knuckles protection on there now, it doesn't hurt as bad. But back when I was racing, we wore motocross gloves. You'd come off the track, your knuckles would be all beat up. Your chest looked like I got hit with a shotgun. And so I would, I didn't have an air vest. I'd have, the new technology. So we'd stick cardboard inside your leathers to absorb everything. If not, you just look like you got shot with, buckshot.
Wow.
That's what it looks like. And some people even cover their necks. I know people would tape, stuff to the bottom of their helmet, let it hang down like a grease rag or a shirt or something like that, just to keep the roost off of you. And it's not because you don't want to get dirty. It's because it hurts.
Like a hockey goalie neck guard?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's different. And I'm glad you got to go, and I'm glad you got to be there for the rain because, honestly, that made it where we had less track prep. And Lima's the only track we go to on the circuit where after every single race, the water truck comes, the drags come out, dragging the loose stuff back down, and then the water truck comes out, and then we go right back to it. Last year, we didn't have to water it very often. I think maybe at the end of the night, we were watering again, but they would drag the loose stuff back down. We'd send the next group right out. So it's a win, and it's hard to describe because the fans have to understand that there's going to be a little bit of track maintenance between every race.
Right.
But you talk to your buddies, the grandstands are full. It's one of the oldest running regular races on the circuit. It's the last Saturday. Now it's the last Friday and Saturday in June every year. It's the Lima, the Ohio National, and it's a must go to if you're a race fan.
It was crazy last year, and I did notice, them. That's something that I liked because they were dragging all the loose stuff back down, and so literally anybody, like you said earlier, well, you didn't use the words, but I will. Anybody that has the balls to get up there and push the cushion out to begin with is really going to benefit because that cushion builds really fast and it looked really grippy.
Yeah, and it you can just grab a handful. It's going to hold on. You hardly ever like go all the way even to the hay bales because it's going to slow you down a little bit, and then you can just grab a handful and it square off the corner, or you can just ride it. The 450s now that's the AFT singles class, they like going to the bottom of the racetrack. I don't like that. It's definitely the shortest way around. I remember when Shayna Texter Bauman won there, it was a track that I never would have thought she would win on because it's usually a very physically demanding track because it's rough. Yeah. And you talked about Daytona and Henry Wiles. Well, you gotta, that's on a short track. You gotta think about them also doing that on a half mile. But when she won, she was running the middle of the racetrack and she wasn't letting off on a 450, and she was just skimming the top of the deep stuff and the rough stuff, and she just never let off. And that was probably one of my favorite wins that she had, besides her first one, when she was the first female to win an American flat track. But it takes a special rider. It takes somebody that's fearless, that wants to twist the throttle, and then you got to get good starts. I mean, there's a lot that adds up to win at Lima.
Yeah, that was Lima was exciting. After Lima, we're DuQuoin, right?
Yeah, on the 4th of July. Yeah, that'll be good.
250th birthday, America.
I hope last year, the 4th of July was on Friday. That was an amateur race, and I left the track for the amateur race, and the whole fairgrounds was packed. They had a great big fireworks show, but none of them came into the racetrack. So hopefully they can figure out a way to funnel those people into the racetrack. Maybe do a special 4th of July, fireworks, maybe a band or something. I don't know what they have planned, but I hope it packs. The tough thing about DuQuoin, though, is it's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
But it's one of the coolest racetracks. I think when I was racing, it was a little bit different because it seemed like there was like a short shoot in between 1 and 2 and a short shoot between 3 and 4. It's like the Indianapolis 500 racetrack, but on dirt. And nowadays, they don't ride it quite like that. They try to make it a big swooping corner. So it's just a little bit different than I think it used to be. But it's such a unique racetrack. And there's a big pond in the middle of the track. And I think there was a shark in it last year or something. We found something swimming around in it last year. But
wow,
it's just, I think it was a great big ass catfish. But it was nuts. We were trying to get somebody to go catch it for us, but it's just I love DuQuoin. I mean, I got good memories there and bad memories there. I had fun when I raced there, and I love going back there every year. And then part of that DuQuoin week too is the day after is the Flat Track Grand Championships for the AMA, and that's basically like Loretta Lynn's is for motocrossers. It's a week full of racing, and the amateur riders get to run on a mile, a half mile. There's a TT that they make inside the half mile, and then there's an indoor short track. So the good thing about that too is the indoor is there. If we get rain, I don't say that word on race day, but if we get the R word, we just move inside. So there's always an option. DuQuoin's just a special place, and there's a lot of racing. So if you're looking for something to do on the 4th of July, we'll see you there.
Yeah, and the venue at DuQuoin, the fairgrounds.
Yeah,
I'm an Art Deco. I like old architecture. And when I showed up there, I'm like, oh my God, this is probably the coolest building at a racetrack I have ever been to. Yeah, it was just all the Art Deco and the neon, and it's insane. It was
old
so
school.
cool.
Yeah, it's like, and some of the pillars are like old stones and rocks and stuff like that. And they got, it is got the retro look to it. It's been there for a long, long time. They call it the Magic Mile. I know that's one of the NASCAR tracks is called the Magic Mile too, but it's the Magic Mile of dirt for sure. But it's a very unique place for it. And I love going there. And then we leave there. We got a month off after that. Then we go to Sturgis again. But this year there's 2 races. There's the Sturgis short track, which is a little bitty short track, but it's fun also. And then the Sturgis Super TT, which is 2 days later now. And last year we had 3 races there. This year there's 2. You and I did 4 races up there because we did an Arenacross up there too. You never know what's going to happen. There's always something going on. And if you want more than just a race, Sturgis is the place to go.
Oh yeah. And Sturgis is fun. Last year I think was my 2nd or 3rd year. And last year was the first year I can say, I guess it was my 2nd year at Sturgis.
Okay.
But it was the first year I really felt engaged with the event and the races. It was incredible. That being said, I really wish they could get it together to get I know there's a lot of hate, but you guys can all hate me. I don't care. I love the Streets of Sturgis TT, and I want it to come back.
It was fun. We had a lot of challenges with that and a lot of pushback on that. Some of the riders didn't want to do it. And, it was more like a supermoto race, but I'm okay with that. Again, like we talked about at the start of this podcast, MAddOG, it's about getting eyeballs on our sport. We definitely did that. It may have pissed off some of the true bikers because we closed down Main Street at midnight the night before, just so we could start working on it. But when we did that race, and to get that race in, we had a monsoon rain come in. I mean, when you get the CEO, when you get the announcers, when you get other people out there trying to cover up the dirt section with tarps, when you get trying to sweep the water off of the streets whenever it stopped raining, when you get that many people involved, the fans stuck around, and the track really wasn't as bad as what they were all thinking. It was slippery. just because, especially on like the painted stripe areas.
Right.
I almost thought, and I talked about this for probably too long after my podcast or after that race ended on my podcast. Each week, the next guest I would ask, well, let's talk about the Sturgis TT. I asked every one of them, what if we would put some Coke syrup down like you do at, like, I'm going to Flat Out Friday next weekend in Milwaukee. They put Dr. Pepper syrup on the track and it makes it sticky. I was thinking, what if we would have done that in some of those corners, Mad Dog? Would that have made the racing better? Would have created more lines? Like, or do you just do that at the top half of those corners? I mean, there's so many things that we didn't get to try because it was a one-off event, because we had to rush to get it set up, because we had to rush after the rain stopped to get the race in before it got too dark. And there's so many things against American Flat Track at that event. I thought it came off great. I thought it looked great on TV. We had drama, we had action, we had a kickstand sensor shut Dan Bromley's bike off. We had a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt. There was, a few crashes because it was slippery going into turn number 1. That's why the air fence is there. They all got up. They all kept racing. I'm not opposed to doing it again, Mad Dog, is what I'm saying.
I thought it was great. And to your point on the slippery pavement, I think they could have gone, and hindsight's 2020, right? We're all, I wasn't out there on a bike. I don't know how slippery it was. It might have been slippery enough that it would have been my jam, right?
Right.
But we could have gone a couple of grades softer on tires. Now I know they were afraid, how were the tires going to hold up?
Right.
But the program ended up so condensed that I think if they'd have gone 2 compounds softer, all the riders probably still would have been okay, and would have had a little more traction on that slippery. But that being said, nobody said, man, this racing's crappy, or man, these bikes sliding around suck. J-Dub and I walked around the entire outside and inside of the track while you guys were working. But technically, we were working. But there were people around the outside, almost all the way around the outside where there was fencing. There was people 4 and 5 people deep.
Yeah, for sure. And
for 4 blocks.
Right, all the way around the whole racetrack. And it was almost like we went around a town square, even though it wasn't a town square. We ended up going around a bank and through the bank's parking lot. But I'm with you on the tires. And now that we've done it before, now we've learned, hopefully if we ever do it again, we can go at least to the at least 1 more softer tire, maybe like you said, 2 more softer tires. That would put rubber down, and then it wouldn't be as slippery. And then also, I think we spent too much time practicing, but I think we had to, again, looking back, a year and a half later, what we're doing right now, and cussing and discussing it. I think, shorten up the practice. We could have got the racing done sooner. Yeah. But all in all, to me, it was a great event. Will it ever happen again? I don't know. It could. I don't know if we'd ever think about doing that at Daytona. I think they love being at the Speedway, which I understand 100%. It's just like, all the old school NASCAR fans, let's go race on the beach. That'll never happen again. No. But what I've learned through NASCAR is never say never. So they've brought some of that, Daytona Motorsports Group owns American Flat Track. So don't ever say never in our sport, because it could happen. I mean, we could be racing I wouldn't mind going back to a pavement half mile again, like back in the day. There was a series called Mars. Man, if you've ever seen a flat track bike on a pavement half mile, you gotta check that out. They smoke the tires going into the corner, Mad Dog.
Wow.
And then grab a handful and smoke the tires coming off the corner. So, again, never say never. Our sport is evolving. It's changing, but yet still the same. We still go fast and turn left, but we've tried some new things. Some things work, some things don't work. And I try to stay positive because I love flat track. It's my favorite form of racing. I love all racing. I'm not going to lie to you, but flat track, it's in my blood, 3rd generation flat tracker. The whole family has been through it and still in it. And, we all love it. So I got my grandpa to thank for that, and it's just part of it. But I'm really looking forward to 2026. There's a couple more races we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Peoria PT is another one that you got to go to. It's after DuQuoin. It's in Thunder Valley. It was the hottest race I've ever been to in my life last year, and I was in a semi trailer, but our air conditioners weren't keeping up, so it was warm in there too. It wasn't 100 degrees outside like it was for everybody. And since you're down in the valley, it was warm, but the racing is always really good there. It's got a big jump. You're hitting at about 80 to 100 miles per hour, which is insane. I did it on a Rotax back in the day with little bitty suspension.
Yeah.
They've got a little bit better suspension now on the 750s. The 450s, the singles class can just air it out so
yeah.
far. 80 or 90 feet, and then they land on a down slope. So it's not like you're landing on flat hard. You land on the way down. But it is still crazy. And then there's a real tight right, and then a left and a left, and then you get back down the front straightaway. But Thunder Valley is amazing. And then we're wrapping up the season this year at the Springfield Mile. We're doing 2 days in a row at the world's fastest dirt oval. And people argue that everybody says they got the fastest track. Well, if you look at a stopwatch, it is an oval around. I believe somebody said DuQuoin was a little bit faster at certain times, but consistently, Springfield Mile is usually the fastest dirt oval in the world.
Well, I know at Daytona, I didn't see it or at Springfield, I didn't see it last year, but it might have been the year before that, where I believe somebody turned, and it might have been Jared Mees, turned like a 142 at the end of the front stretch during practice.
Yeah,
nobody matched that, and nobody matched that in qualifying or anything.
Right.
But, and that, who knows, that might have been a situation where we're in practice and we're probably not going to get teched after. So let's test.
Possibly.
I've been there. I'm not going to lie. I've been there. Well, let's try this because it's practice, and, and sometimes it sucks because you end up changing a motor between practice and race day.
Right.
Been there.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's fast, and it's, I talk about Springfield after every recap of Springfield. I feel like I'm saying the same thing. It's amazing to be standing there by the fence and the bikes go by at over 100 miles an hour in a 10 bike pack or 8 bike pack. And it's like, it's overwhelming. It hits every sensory.
Yeah, and if you can ever get down inside the corners, it's very cool too. They're not going as fast in the corners, but you can watch the riders move around on their motorcycles, and they're all still inches apart. And the big bikes like a little bit higher line, the little bikes like it down against the guardrail. I know on the 600, I think a lot of times we're down against the guardrail so close we're almost clipping the inside guardrail because you want to go the shortest way around. But then when you get the bigger bikes, you got more motor to carry around and keep the momentum and keep the speed up. But that's a racetrack, Mad Dog. I think the last time I raced there on my 600 Rotax, I went wide open like the last 4 or 5 laps in a semifinal, and I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I got off the bike and I'm like, there's no other thrill better than that in the world. It doesn't matter what you do if you jump on an airplane. I don't care. To me, that was the biggest thrill of my life was the Springfield Mile, and it has a special place in my heart because of that. Because I've never went around a racetrack anywhere else wide open other than that track right there. And NASCAR guys do it, but they got a roll cage around them, and they got banking, and they can just let it all hang out too. But when you're on a motorcycle and you're trying to go as fast as you can, and you're drafting, and that's a whole nother element too. You draft somebody. You pass them, it feels like you pick up 10 more miles per hour. I don't know how much more you pick up, but you go flying into the corner further than you had planned on. So that creates some havoc and maybe some rough riding or some bumping and some rubbing going on. But the Springfield Mile is incredible. And, it's just, I think it's a good place to end the season. I loved going to Missouri the last couple of years at Lake Ozark.
Yeah,
I don't mind ending the season there at Springfield. Maybe if they could bring Lake Ozark back. I know they're trying to do it during their rally, but maybe put that near the middle of the season if we could get that track back on, because that was some really good racing there. So I don't know what happened, why we're not going back there, but as of right now, we're not this year for sure. But I know they want to go there during the rally, and I know that's very expensive for the teams to go there when all the hotels are booked up and there's not a good place to fly into, and there's other reasons, but I'm not sure exactly why we're not going back there, but I'm okay with ending the season at Springfield Mile, letting it all hang out. Let the motors eat, and let's have some fun, and then let's celebrate, because it's always on Labor Day weekend. We have the next day to do the awards banquet if we choose to stick around. Sometimes we get over early enough on Sunday, we can do the banquet that night, or I don't even know if they call it awards party now. They don't call it a banquet anymore because they don't have food, but it's still an awards get together. How about that? So if we could do that, and then in Springfield, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I didn't hate it when we ended the season in Springfield. I enjoyed and will always have a soft spot for um, uh, Lake of the Ozarks, because last year, was the first year I got to actually during the banquet be engaged and present an award on behalf of kickers. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
The track was cool, but there's a certain amount of, like, I can't see the races at Lake of the Ozarks and I can't see the races at Springfield.
Right.
So that's about the same, but Springfield has that vendor area, the
Midway.
It has that Midway carnival feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always talked about that, and I love it. I just love. I mean, there's people coming in at 8:00 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, it makes for some long days for us. The other thing I like about Springfield is, they don't have lights, so we're done early every day, which is nice. I don't hate that. I have to start 3 hours or 4 hours earlier than I normally do, or 5, but I don't hate being done while it's still light out,
And we can go get dinner afterwards somewhere.
Amen. Yeah,
not the Waffle House or not Denny's, that somewhere's open. But I've always wondered if I win the lottery, what would I do with it? Well, I would love to see the Springfield Mile run at night. I would also love to see the Peoria TT run at night too. It would cost an arm and a leg, I understand, but I think both of those two venues would be amazing at nighttime. So if I ever win the lottery, if some lights pop up, you might know that I won the lottery.
There'll be signs.
I'm not telling anybody, but you'll know.
And Peoria, I haven't been to yet. I hope that fits my schedule this year. Last year it got it, I had some other stuff I had to do. And so, and unfortunately, Ventura does not fit my schedule now with, I think they moved it a little earlier, a little later than it was 3 years ago. And so now it is during the Desert Storm marine event out here in Lake Havasu that is, sponsored by Kicker Marine Audio. So I end up, that's a week and a half of legwork for a 4-day event for me. So I miss Ventura, but I am planning to be to Chico, because I have got to see the legendary bank. What do they call it? The Endless Corner. The corner that had.
I don't know. I haven't heard that, Mad Dog. You're giving me some good. You're giving me something I've never heard of before. You're getting me excited right now. So I'm ready to get. Let's go to Chico right now.
They're saying, right. They're saying the one corner at Chico is just like you can run it wherever you want, because there's so much room.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if that's the case, but I want to see it. I want to get my feet in the dirt and look at it and touch it and watch some bikes run. So hopefully that'll end up all working out. And man, it's going to be a stacked season, and I'm super stoked. I'm to go to the Budds Creek Throttle Fest.
Yeah.
And, I'm currently trying to figure out, like, do I need to be there earlier than I normally show up for a race, et cetera, et cetera? Is there stuff that I need to be there to do the day before I normally show up, or 2 days
Right.
before? Because it's a 4 or 5 day event, I think, for Budds Creek.
I think it ends with us, if I'm not mistaken. There might be a motocross race the next day, but I think the motocross race ends, and I think that's when we're starting on that Saturday. So maybe we might have to go out a couple days early and just check it all out. I mean, it sounds like it's gonna be a lot of fun. I've never been to Budds Creek. I've only been to 2 or 3 outdoor tracks, but I would like to check out Budds Creek.
Well, and stitching that all together, guys, I didn't realize I made such a nice segue, but we actually broke the news on the after show live at Springfield last year.
Okay.
With Ezra. The AFT was going to Budds Creek.
That's right. Yeah, he came
so
in.
There's the interlink between Budds Creek and Springfield.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he showed up in the retro colors, like the neon green and the neon pink outfit. I'm like, who is this guy? And then he was up in the production truck, and I was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're just big race fans,
Yeah, I had Cameron and Robbie on scheduled to be on the podcast live. And Cameron brings this guy in and introduces me to him 5 minutes before we go on. And he's like, he wants to be on too. And I'm like, well, sure. Right. Like, my podcast, I don't have formats. I don't care about anything. I just like, let's have some fun. And then he's talking about it, and he's like, yeah, and we're going to have American Flat Track next year. And I'm literally like, well, what?
Yeah.
So So that was amazing, but that happened at Springfield. So, man, I am super stoked, and I'm lucky because I got to see you all last weekend.
Yeah.
Right. I'm bummed that I won't see you this coming weekend in Guthrie, Oklahoma.
But I know.
You will be at
Milwaukee at Flat Out Friday. So they race polished concrete, put some Dr. Pepper syrup down, and the last race of the night's a pro race. It's 35 laps to honor Charlotte Canes, who we lost in 2016. So they've been doing this race actually for 10 years also. So this is the 10th running of the Flat Out Friday. It's the part of the Mama Tried motorcycle show, is right across the street. So it's a huge get together. Harley Davidson sponsored it for quite a while. This will be my second year as one of the live event announcers. There's going to be 4 of us total, which is crazy for a little bit of short track. We all have a different purpose, but I've done it. I did it a few years back for a couple of years for Harley Davidson. We streamed it, and I think I can't remember how many countries, but it was millions of eyeballs were on it, and it's awesome. It's still very popular. They got a boonie class. They got they got a bicycle class. They've got all kinds of different things. And it's a show. It's a show. And then a motorcycle race happens all around it. And they've got a DJ live in the center of the racetrack. They've got strobe lights going. They got all kinds of stuff happening. So It's a fun event. If anybody's up there, that's going on February the 20th, depending on when this comes out. But if you haven't got a chance to go check that one out, it's fun. It's inside. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds awesome. I remember seeing a bunch of your social media on it from last year, and it looked like just a great time. And you talked about Charlotte and the memorial race, and that should lead us over to the Angels of Dirt movie. And, you've been a huge supporter of that. And right now, I know they're having a special. Does that end in February or March?
It ends in the end of February. So you can watch Angels of Dirt. It's a documentary film about the fearless women of flat track. It mostly follows Charlotte Canes from when she was like 4 years old until she went pro. She got up to the GNC2 class back then when you rode little bikes on the little tracks, big bikes on the big tracks. It talks about that, but then it also talks more about our sport and how our sport is different than motocross. It talks to other women that race in other forms of racing. There's actually a Harley sponsored lady that's in the film, and it's more than just about Charlotte. It's about racing in general. It's about flat track. It's about the flat track family and the community. But it is free on Angels of Dirt on her YouTube page. Follow on social media because there's always something going on. There's screenings. I've been to. We showed the film a couple, probably 2 or 3 times in England. She did a
Yep.
world tour. She went on a few other events. I think I've seen the film now. Probably I've been to 10 screenings, I think, or 11 screenings now, and I've seen it one other time. So it is free right now. It's Angels of Dirt on YouTube. Check it out. And she's actually sponsoring a racer this year, and her name is Paige Keck, and she's also from Wisconsin. She's a very fast up and coming racer. She's going to try to race her way in to some of the CTR races. She's possibly going to California. I had her on the podcast last Friday with Wendy to talk about it, and she's gonna be wearing an Angels of Dirt helmet, and it's got Charlotte on it, it's got her name on it, and it's very cool. We want to keep Charlotte's legacy going. It's just a very nice touch of Wendy to do that. She didn't have to sponsor a rider, she didn't have to keep promoting this film, but we want as many people to check it out as possible. So it's free on YouTube.
That's awesome. Yeah, and you know what, my listeners, don't be a bunch of cheap asses. Go pay for it. Go donate. Go help it out. Go support it. You can all afford it. So
it's not that much whenever it is not free either. So
right.
It's free until the end of February, and then it's not very much after that. And it every little bit helps if you want to donate. There's she takes Venmo and PayPal and all that stuff too. If you want to donate to the film, I don't know what's next. I don't know if they're going to start, filming for another one. It was a very unique project for her. It was about 17 years to make this film because it started when Charlotte was little, and then when Charlotte passed, she kind of just stopped, and then something made her finish the story, and it's really good. It's really good. I wish everybody could go see it. I hope everybody goes to checks it out on YouTube. I mean, it's like an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes. It's great. On YouTube, you can pause it, go to the bathroom, go do whatever you got to do, and then keep watching it. I know I'm probably going to watch it again because I know there's people here in Oklahoma City that haven't been to the races where we were showing it before. So, I might go check it out and show some more of my friends.
Yeah. Awesome. And, I heard in between the lines on your most recent podcast I listened to yesterday on the flight home, that there was a lot of hinting towards a second Angels of Dirt, or similar.
Possibly.
So, we're going to watch for that. We get a lot of breaking for being just a guy that loves what he does and whatnot. We get a lot of breaking news out here. So
isn't that great? Isn't it great?
It's awesome. I'm truly honored. And you got to feel the same way. You're so honored and blessed to be able to, just be friends with the people that we are, and people want to, a year and a half ago after Dakar, we had Seth Quintero on, and I mentioned something about him. I'd seen some social media, him running a sim that was not a Dakar T1 Plus and not a side-by-side. And he kind of hinted that maybe we'd see him in a rally car. Well, guess what? Toyota Gazoo Racing Red Bull is launching a American Rally team this year with Secondero at the wheels. So,
awesome.
I love seeing stuff like that, and I just feel, I got goosebumps. I'm just so blessed and lucky, and I suppose we should wrap this up. I know you got another recording to do later tonight.
I'm hopping on another podcast here in just a little bit
with Chatty Maddie, right?
Chatty Maddie. She also announces up there. She actually her real gig is she's a school teacher. Her second love is she's a sprint car announcer up there. And so she got me in a booth up at Wilmot Speedway last year. I announced a full size sprint car heat race, and that was a whole lot of fun. That was probably like a bucket list thing because my second best favorite racing besides flat track is sprint cars. My dad grew up with Doug Wolfgang, so I've always loved sprint cars since I was a little kid. So getting to call a full-size sprint car race was my first. I did a track here called Fort Cobb a long time ago, had midgets and mini sprints and stuff like that. So I've called those before, but calling the full-size sprint car heat race was a lot of fun. But Chatty Maddie, when she's not doing that stuff, she does Flat Out Friday, and she's a very young, eager, full of energy pit reporter. She gets to do all the podium winners and stuff like that. Last year, I did like the sponsors and the VIPs and stuff like that. This year, I'm gonna try to get some more stuff backstage. I'm the straight guy. I'm the race guy. So I'll fill in when we need to talk about some things. And also, I know the Factory Harley Davidson team is going to announce some things there too. So I get to do that. And then Chatty Maddie is going to have me on her podcast in just a little bit. But she's a hoot. She's a lot of fun. Her husband races sprint cars, and she's just a lot of fun to be with. She always is in some real tight, skinny red jeans. So I bought some red jeans just for Flat Out Friday.
Yes.
Yep. So me and Chatty are gonna look good. But it's always fun to, again, another event that's a lot of fun. I'm lucky, just like you are, and we're living our dreams and telling our stories and spreading the love about all kinds of racing. To me, it's mostly motorcycle racing, but every once in a while I get to do a sprint car race or whatever. But yeah, we're just lucky people.
Yep, absolutely. And speaking of Harley Davidson and one of my main sponsors, Kick Performance Audio, I happen to know for a fact that Mr. Hollywood Deubler's Harley Davidson is currently up. Yeah, it's up from you. It's north from you in Stillwater at headquarters. And I will see it this week when I go to Guthrie. I'll see it Wednesday when I go to HQ.
All right.
So,
all right. Yeah, let me know what's going on.
I'll say hi to it for you. And I'm excited. Got to get you they're going to get you hooked up for Daytona and moving forward, and I think be a part of Off the Groove and all that. So that's pretty exciting. And man, other than that, what else do we got? What you should probably thank all your partners, sponsors. I know folks, speaking of things being, I can't say it, but I know Scotty has a big announcement coming up pretty soon, and I'm pretty excited about it for him.
It's coming real soon. I can't say anything just yet, but Kicker is on board. Definitely, the Kicker Performance Audio. I've got Kicker headphones. They are right here. I usually, when I'm recording my podcast, I've always got the Kicker on. Out there you go.
Yeah,
I got my Kicker earphones on. I always got my Kicker speakers right over there. So it's Bullfrog. I was drawing a blank for a second, but Kicker's on board now. I've got FRA Trust. I've got Hudson Roofing there too. That's been on all of last year. Light Shoe, which is the steel shoe that you wear on your boot when you're racing flat track. They're up in Sturgis, South Dakota. That's where their world headquarters are. Jim and Pat, they are just awesome race fans that support the podcast, and they've supported me back when I was racing, and they continue to support me now. They're just glad that I'm still in the sport. So they're really great people. Tom Duma Fine Jewelers, TDFJ.com. They do championship rings for all the champions in American Flat Track. They make personalized jewelry. If you need jewelry, if you need any watches, if you need anything, get a hold of Tommy. Pro Plates has made number plates for me. I sell 43 number plates. The list goes on. And I have patrons also that just help me a lot. Just by sending me a little bit of money every month, and a little bit to a lot of money. It depends on whatever you want. I'm not everything counts. I mean, I'm not trying to belittle anybody, but anything helps. Anything helps a lot with the podcast. But it's just it takes all of them, and it's a lot of fun. And I do have a big sponsor coming up. I haven't signed on the dotted line just yet, so I can't say anything. But I'm really, 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 really close. It's gonna be exciting. It'll be the podcast will be powered by somebody. We'll go with that for right now. So
excellent.
Mad Dog, thanks for having me on the podcast,
dude. Thank you.
Fun. Always fun catching up with you and talking flat track and all the other shenanigans we get into along the way.
For sure. Well, and on the note of your sponsors, some of your sponsors, um, man, I had the opportunity to hold one of those steel shoes in my hand. It
Yeah.
is now on J-Dub's desk.
All right.
But that was a trophy. They gave it to us, I think, for a sponsor. I don't know,
Oh yeah.
sponsor of the
Yeah.
year or partner of the year, something like that. And
Sure.
that was that. What a fine piece of art, let alone functional equipment. And at Lima last year, um, I had the opportunity to meet Tommy Duma,
Okay.
and I just want to tell people, go support him. He is one hell of a great guy.
He's
Um, he really is. I had a really enjoyable time talking to him. Um, and he makes some beautiful products. Go to Scottie's website and check out his look at that. I know.
Ooh.
Never without it now. That
Right.
thing is
Hollywood.
gorgeous.
Hollywood.
Hollywood.
Right.
Yeah. So with that, I suppose we should probably wrap it up. I don't know how much we actually got accomplished that we planned on, but man, I sure had a hell of a lot of fun.
I did too.
And it's great to work with you last weekend and have you here, and you're always welcome on here. We love you to death. Um, Cole Cole loves you even more than I love you. I don't know how
Oh
that's
man,
possible, but
It's
that's
just
cool.
true.
Oh, I heard the Cole Tricklemeister. I heard him. I heard him. He's here.
He is here.
Always
He's
lurking.
lurking, yeah.
Lurking and working.
That's funny.
Lurking and working. So with
Awesome.
that, with your permission, Scottie, I know you've had a rough, let's say, entrance to the year or end of last year, and with your permission, we'd really like to dedicate this episode to the memory of Grams and Carter, if you're
Awesome.
okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. They both mean a lot to me. And, if it wasn't for Carter, I never would have started a podcast. He believed in me more than I believe in myself, still to this day. And Graham was my most favorite person in the whole wide world. That's my dad's mom. So at the racetrack, everybody thought she was my mom because of how young she always acted, how much life she had, how much she loved racing. She had one flat track racer that was her favorite, Ricky Graham. She would probably never tell anybody that she loves all the other racers just as much, but Ricky Graham was her favorite racer. When he passed a long time ago, then she became a fan of everybody else. But she is surely missed, and she's my favorite person in the whole wide world. And I'm still trying to keep Graham's question alive at the end of my podcast, and I'm going back and listening to some of the old ones, and just trying to keep some of her favorite questions that she always would ask. And it was funny because I would text her. She was 93 years young when she went up to heaven. But she would text me right back. If she didn't know the racer, we would talk it over, and then she'd figure out who the racer was, and then she would think about it, and then she would text me a question. They were always always her question. And if she didn't feel comfortable, then we wouldn't do a Graham's question that week. If she didn't know, like if I had a sponsor on, or if I had a team owner, if she didn't know, then she wouldn't maybe have a question. But other than that, there was always a Graham's question at the end of every episode, and they were always from Graham. It was something that she wanted to know. So I'm gonna try to keep that going. And I love that you're honoring Chris Carter, who started the podcast with me, and Graham, of course, who's my favorite person in the whole wide world. So I appreciate that, Mad Dog.
Absolutely. Both great people. And, definitely there's two extra bright stars in the sky now for sure. So, yep. With that, I suppose we should probably let you go so you can get to your next gig.
I got to jump on another one. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Mad Dog.
Thank you, Scottie. I appreciate you, brother. I'll see you soon.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Man, it's always good having Scottie, but he's so insightful that getting us the dirt on what's coming up for American Flat Track. Super stoked. And, folks, it's, me, I'm a train wreck of a ride all around everywhere. And I think we covered a little bit of everything. And with that, we need to shut her down because we're pushing time. So I want to be sure and thank our great partners and sponsors, Kicker Performance Audio. Find them at kicker.com online or Kicker Facebook, at Kicker Audio on Instagram, every other Tuesday night live on their Kicker Unmasked Live TV show on all their streaming platforms, including YouTube. Of course, Bomber Floating Eyewear, Bomber Safety Eyewear, Bomber Badass Eyewear, Tommy and the Gang, affordable, extremely durable, fashionable eyewear. They float. They're safety glasses, over 40 styles of frames, unknown at this moment amounts of lens combinations. They've just released a couple of new styles. So be sure and check them out. BomberEyewear.com or on Instagram at Bomber Eyewear, on Facebook, Bomber Eyewear. Of course, Assault Industries, Assault UTV, Assault Off-Road Accessories for all your off-road needs, accessories, apparel, tools, side-by-side parts. Hit them up. Find them online, assaultind.com, or on Instagram at assaultutv. Of course, my man Cole over at the Premix Podcast, dude, making all this happen, all the production, all the hard work, also available for your MC and announcer work, and, breaking, not breaking. Him and I are available as a team. We had one event that we were looking at seriously, but I had an American flat track race that unfortunately bled over it. But, hit us up, slide into our DMs over on Instagram at AFTR_podcast and see if we can get you hooked up. Of course, Shutter and World Media for all your video, audio, and photo production needs from pre-production through production to post-production. Shutter and World has you handled. Find her on Instagram at Shutter and World. Go to her profile. Website is right there. Of course, Hey Keeks Marketing for all your website needs or social media needs. You can find her on Instagram at Hey Keeks Marketing or on the web, heykeeks.com. Man, Cole, what else you got? Anything? You got anything hot and bothered coming up?
I'm definitely bothered. I'm not hot. And shoot, Laughlin. I'll be in April. We'll be racing Laughlin in the buggy. So yeah,
cool.
It's a long way away, but it'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hoping to see you there. And make the
that'd
trip
be so
up.
sick. Oh man. We would have too much fun in the casino. So.
Yes, should be a good time. I do want to give a special shout out to my good friends over at Beehive Blends for their CBD pain treatment roll-on. It works. That's all I got to say. It's totally unpaid, but it works, and it works good. Trust me, I know pain. And, of course, an extra special shout-out, my good friends over at Arai for the beautiful, incredible Mad Dog Street Bucket that will be getting used a lot more here very soon. More to come on that in the next episode or two. So with that, man, happy birthday. Happy 250th birthday to my favorite country, America.
So good.
And, yeah, 250 years. Amazing. God bless our first responders. God bless our military personnel all around the world. God bless our veterans. God bless you, our fans. God bless America. Mad Dog out.
make sure to rate and review, subscribe on your favorite streaming platform.